The moon hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow through the dense forest as I rode my bicycle along the narrow trail. The night air was cool and filled with the sounds of rustling leaves and distant howls. I had always enjoyed the thrill of riding through the woods at night, but tonight was different. Tonight, something was off. As I pedaled deeper into the darkness, the forest seemed to close in around me. The trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that there was something lurking in the shadows. A cold breeze swept through the woods, causing the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. I quickened my pace, hoping to get out of the forest and back into the safety of the town. But the trail seemed to stretch on endlessly, the path twisting and turning, leading me deeper into the heart of the forest. I tried to convince myself that it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, that there was nothing to fear. But every now and then, I caught a glimpse of movement out of the corner of my eye, a fleeting shadow that vanished as soon as I turned to look. My heart pounded in my chest as I rode on, the sound of my own breathing echoing in my ears. The forest felt alive with unseen eyes, and I could feel the weight of their gaze upon me. I dared not stop, for fear of what might be lurking in the darkness. As I rode, the trail began to slope downward, leading me deeper into the heart of the forest. The trees grew denser, and the air grew thicker with a sense of foreboding. I could no longer see the moon, and the only light came from the feeble beam of my bicycle's headlamp. Suddenly, the trail came to an abrupt end. I skidded to a stop, my heart racing as I realized I had reached a dead end. Panic gripped me as I looked around, trying to find another path, but all I could see were the towering trees and the suffocating darkness. With a sinking feeling in my gut, I turned back the way I came, hoping to retrace my steps and find my way out of the forest. But as I pedaled, I realized that the trail had vanished. The path that I had followed so confidently was now gone, swallowed by the shadows. My mind raced, trying to make sense of what was happening. How could the trail disappear? Was I lost, or worse, was I trapped in this nightmarish forest? I felt a rising sense of dread as I realized that I was no longer alone. Whispers echoed through the trees, disembodied voices that sent shivers down my spine. I tried to call out, to ask for help, but my voice caught in my throat. The forest seemed to close in around me, the trees leaning in as if to smother me. I felt a presence behind me, and as I turned, I caught sight of a figure in the darkness. It was tall and thin, its features obscured by the shadows. It stood perfectly still, watching me with eyes that glowed a sinister red. Fear paralyzed me as I stared back at the haunting figure. I tried to pedal away, but my bicycle refused to move, as if held in place by an invisible force. The figure stepped closer, and I could see now that it was not alone. More shadows emerged from the darkness, surrounding me on all sides. They whispered in a language I couldn't understand, their voices like the rustling of leaves in the wind. Desperation overcame me, and I abandoned my bicycle, stumbling backward as I tried to escape the encroaching darkness. But no matter which way I turned, I was met with more trees, more shadows, and more fear. As the figures closed in, I could feel their malevolence, a darkness that seemed to seep into my very soul. They reached out with elongated fingers, their touch icy cold, and I knew that there was no escape from this nightmare. In a final act of desperation, I closed my eyes and screamed, hoping that someone, anyone, would hear me and save me from this living nightmare. But my cries were swallowed by the darkness, and I was left alone with the malevolent shadows. And then, in an instant, it all stopped. The figures vanished, the whispers ceased, and the forest fell silent once more. I opened my eyes cautiously, half expecting to still be trapped in the nightmare. But to my disbelief, I found myself standing at the edge of the forest, the town's lights visible in the distance. Trembling, I walked back into town, my mind reeling from the horrors I had witnessed. I couldn't explain what had happened in that forest, and I wasn't sure I wanted to. Some things are better left unexplored, and some terrors are best forgotten. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that those malevolent shadows are still out there, lurking in the darkness, waiting for their next victim. And so, I caution anyone who dares to venture into the woods at night, for there are things in the shadows that should never be disturbed.